Don't try this at home, kiddies. There you go. There's 87 kilos on this tent. Is it safe to come out yet? Has the dust settled? Now, there's been a lot of market upsets with this tent. A lot of people have felt threatened, and some people have criticised this tent, what I think is really unfairly. In this video, I'm going to present a few fun facts. Now, these are based on my 50 years camping experience, ownership of many different types of tents, camping in many different types of conditions, both during and pre-YouTube, and my experience particularly with this tent in various conditions. Shifted in the night more to a northwesterly direction, so this wind of between 20 and 30 miles an hour at the moment is coming directly, pretty much side on at the tent, and you can see the stress points here, but it's absolutely fine. Fine now, get the last few pegs in, get the dog and myself in the shelter. First fact is this tent never killed another tent. It stands on its own, and you as a buyer have got the choice of what you wish, really. And I think that this tent in the 4-season, 1-person tent market represents an absolute brilliant buy. Now, you might say I'm a Nortent fanboy, and you'd be absolutely right. I love the products, many of them which I've tried myself, and I've seen only great quality and a responsible company. Now, you might say that he's bound to be a fan of it because this tent was given to him. Now, I've bought lots of tents and I've had other tents given to me, and it doesn't influence what I feel about it. If I find myself in the situation without this tent, I would go out and buy one. Absolutely no problem at all. It's a choice. Now, it's been said that why go storm camping? Now, firstly, I find it fantastic to challenge your own skills, to learn about yourself, to challenge your equipment in winter conditions. And also, it's been said, if you want to avoid idiots, go where they can't survive. Now, was this tent overhyped? Possibly. Some people certainly did that. I don't think that was me. I just based my experience and opinion regarding this tent on actual testing throughout a range of challenging conditions, and my opinion remains based on those facts and actual use. In its standard format, this is a beautifully designed, well ventilated, roomy, 1-person, 4-season tent. Is there any design faults with this tent? No. Could it do with a little bit of tweaking? Definitely yes. And in this video, I'm going to show you, using scientific equipment, what kind of forces this tent can withstand and what we can do as users to get the best possible pitch. Now, what I'm going to be using is something called an advanced force gauge that actually gives us the actual force that we're applying. I'm going to apply that to something I've used to put plenty of force on things before, which is an XL Bokken. If you don't know what that is, look it up. In its standard pitch, properly guyed out, I've used this tent in winds up to 45 mile an hour, and if you want to know what that feels like, you need one of these. Now, wild campers are notorious for exaggerating winds, and I've asked many hikers, what do you think the wind speed is now? And they've usually over exaggerated by a good 50%. So if you're out wild camping and you want to measure the winds for your tent or conditions that you're in, you need one of these. And if you're not using one of these, you're talking out your... This is a gorgeous tent. Can't wait to get out in it again. So what I'm doing is using the force gauge to simulate a wind via this batten to push down the tent, and that feels horrendous doing that. To try and flatten the tent, that's a lot of force that I'm applying through there. So to get the poles concave there took 14.92 kilograms of force, and it felt like a lot. Right, let's try some mods. Now, in this, guys, is this tent as strong as a Hilleberg Solo? No, I don't think it is, but lots of these hacks help to maximally utilize this design of this excellent tent. Now, there are some differences between this tent and many others, but in terms of its overall package, space, volume, sturdiness, quality of materials and value for money, it really stands out. But let's try some more tweaks. Now this one is to extend the Guyline. Whoa. That's working. To get to that point, I've had to go to 16 kilos of force. Right, something Nortent have recommended themselves is to change the angle of the bottom poles here by just pushing that in, tightening up the strap here, pulling the other poles out. Okay. What that simply does, it just steepens the angle there. Let's try this. Right. Oh God. So, that was 20 kilograms of force, and I can't get this section to go in now at all. That is really solid there. That's a massive amount of force there. So I'm really happy with that as just a little tweak in the pitching there. God, I'm out of breath. And I'd be super confident in winds over 50 mile an hour. Now, here's another fact. There's been one case of a pole breaking with this tent, just one, and that was in winds recorded over 55 miles an hour. May well have been more than that, but that was what was recorded. So force 10, storm force conditions, that's when damage happens to buildings and trees are uprooted. Highly unlikely you'll find yourself out in those conditions, but with this setup here, but without the bokken across the top, I'd be confident. Now, Nortent recommend double poling in strong winds, and by strong winds they probably mean more than 50 mile an hour. So let's try that. Actually, we've got another hack. This is by my good friend Andrew Park, and this is something that many of us have done if we've used a top tent Scarp 1 to try and make the end of it a little bit more robust. And if you're carrying a trekking pole, just a 10-second job to put that in there, tighten that Guyline, and what that does is just makes this a little bit more vertical here. Right, let's try that. I can't, I'm pressing down there with 19 kilos of force, and I can't get that to go anymore. I know 19 kilos might seem like a lot, but just pushing there from that angle, that is super strong. Now, this is with the tent in its standard format, just with a trekking pole in place. It's super strong. So what about if wind shifts round to the side? Now, I've had this tent exposed to 30-mile-an-hour winds from the side, and it was coping admirably. But let's just see what kind of force we can apply there through that. Right, that's 18 kilos of force. I can't really apply any more than that, and I can definitely press up my own weight. So that is really, really strong from there. Wow, starting to put my body behind it. Yeah, that's just pressing it a little bit. So I think it seems as strong from this side as it does from the end. Now, I agree that for the few extra 100 grams of carrying a double pole, it's going to be exceptional circumstances, but it's great that we've got the option of doing that. Now, you just apply the double poles to alternate clips. You can do that with the tent pitched, and now with that top set on there, that is super strong. Okay, double poling was a 5-minute job really. Didn't require any repitching. Just had to undo these guys here. So I weigh 87 kilos at the moment. That's my full body weight on there. Other than one big toe, that's all of my 87 kilos on there. Tiny bit of flex. That's me off the ground. That's my full body weight on the tent. Don't try this at home, kiddies. There you go. There's 87 kilos on this tent. So, what have we learnt from this? This is taking a fantastic design and making it even better, just with a few manufacturer recommended tweaks to double pole and change the Guyline angle. So should you find yourself in a situation, which I hope I don't find myself in, with winds more than 50 mile an hour, you can do the Guyline options that I've mentioned, just extend them out a little bit. I always carry extra guy lines anyway. You can use the trekking pole option to make that force there, and if really you're somewhere very committed on expedition, you can carry double poles, and I can't move that, and I'm absolutely confident that the seams, materials and stitching will stand up to it. Now, have I had the urge to defend this tent? Yes, I have a little bit, because the reaction of some fanboys has been, what's the word, a little bit over the top, to be honest. And I think, as has been said before, they feel threatened, and they rightly should feel threatened by this tent. Now, I think Hillebergs make some lovely tents, but to be honest, the reaction of a lot of Hilleberg owners has kind of like put me off having one, really. And why not be slightly maverick and save some money at the same time and invest in a tent like this? So, like I say, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's just a little bit of fun in the garden. No dummy spitting, please. And I'm looking forward to getting out in this tent. Cheers.